Now we are going to talk about preparing our machine for Java development. Basically, we want to have our machine ready in such a way that we should be able to write, compile and execute Java code on our machine. Now this is a fresh laptop that I'm using, and here Java is not installed. So we will see step-by-step approach how to install Java. Plus we will also see if Java is already installed, how do we quickly validate that Java is pre-installed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow this article on our Bing 0 site. So we can go to bing0.in and then we go to Selenium in Java. We go to the first article, which is machine setup. Let's get there. And here it is step by step explained how do we install Java, what is JDK, what is JRE, all this terminology is explained. So we can see we are going to install the necessary software, which is Java Development Kit, that will help us in compiling and executing Java code. That's the main reason of installing JDK. Now we want to figure out if JDK is already installed or not. So before we read any further, let's validate that my machine has JDK or not. Now how do we validate that? There are steps given. First step says we should press the window key and R key to open the run dialog. So I am going to press the window key, which is located with space and alt key on the left side. So I press window R and I can see a run dialog over here. Now when the run dialog comes, I need to type in this path. So I can copy this and I can go to run dialog again and I can paste that path, and if I hit enter, it says Windows cannot find this path. Make sure you have typed the name correctly. That means this path does not exist. If I remove Java and if I hit enter, we can see the path. This path till program files is existing, but Java is not existing. So we can be sure like Java is not installed. And at the end of installation also we will come back and validate this path that Java is there or not. Fair. So if Java is not installed, what we should do is we should move to the step 2 and we can say we can download and start installing Java. Now easy way to install JDK is by clicking this link. You can click this link. This takes us to Java SE site, which is Oracle site where we get Java. Now when we come here, we see that there are Java downloads, NetBeans downloads. We are interested in Java downloads, and when we see here, it gives us three variants: JDK, Server JRE and JRE. Now here people get confused, which one should I download and install? So this disambiguation is also there on this site. Here in the end we are talking about what is JDK, what is JRE. So I recommend you people can go over these three small paragraphs. It will tell you what is difference between JRE and JDK. Okay, so right now we are going to install JDK. So this is the link that I am going to pick. Then when we come here to this screen, then whatever is on the top we can install it. Ideally there are two versions shown here. One is 8U65, which is the older version, another is 8U66. So it really doesn't matter for the purpose for which we are using Java. So ideally we can install any version here. Now let's say if I decided to install 8U65, then I can see I'm on Windows. On the left side we can see we are on Windows, but for Windows also there are two binaries, x86 and x64. Now which one should I pick? That's another level of confusion that people face. Now that is also disambiguated over here in this article. What is OS architecture? How do we check our OS architecture? There are steps. We can open Window Explorer like we did window R, then put slash window R slash enter. This opens our Windows Explorer, and here we see this PC. I can right click here, I can go to properties, and when I go to properties it will open the system properties, and here it shows system type is 64-bit operating system. Now 64 is typically x64 based processor, so that is what my system type is. Now I know it is x64, so what I'll do is I need to take the download for Windows x64, which is this one. So before I click this, I need to accept the license agreement. If we don't click that, then if I click here it will say sorry, you must accept the license agreement before downloading. We say okay, we click this and we start downloading now. let me save file. It will go to my downloads, and it's going to take a little while for download to complete. In the meanwhile, we can also go to this page and we can see what else is there. So this page talks about JDK, then what is the OS architecture, how do we find OS architecture, what is JRE, JDK, JVM, and most importantly, after reading this article, there is a quiz that is given at the bottom, and this is very important to recheck the knowledge that you would have gained by reading this article. So if you click here, it takes us to a quiz where there are a bunch of questions that you people can attempt, and this is a self-help quiz. That means whenever you are answering one question, if we answer one question, let's say over here, so right now I'm going to click a random answer. So when we give a random answer, it's going to tell our answer is right or wrong, and it's also going to give us some explanation so that we know where we did the mistake. So these quizzes are recommended. Just go over them, spend some time, so that whatever knowledge you have gained by reading these articles, all that you can validate that you have grasped the concepts perfectly or not. Awesome. So in the meanwhile, my JDK has got downloaded, so I go here, we click that, and installation of JDK is pretty straightforward. We have to accept all the defaults that we see. Now the installer launches, we say next, next. So there is no change I'm doing. Everywhere, whatever default button comes, whatever default settings are there on the page, we are simply going to click them and we are going to install it. Now it is extracting the installer. So it takes approximately 2.5 minutes for Java to get installed, JDK to get installed. Now while it is getting installed, we can also talk about a difference between JDK and JRE, because here when we come on the previous screen, we had seen there were options of JDK, server JRE, and JRE. Now JRE is a piece of software which is required only to run Java code, and JDK is a piece of software using which we can compile our code. So if we are a developer and our intentions are to write Java code, to compile it, then we should be going with the JDK installation, and JDK is a superset of JRE. So JDK contains JRE as part of it. Now we can notice ideally we are installing JDK, but it says that I am going to install JRE. So this is JRE version 1.8.0_65, that is what it is installing. So by default it goes to this folder and we accept that. So now it started installing JRE for us. As I mentioned, whenever we install JDK, we get JRE as part of it. So JDK and JRE both will be installed, and once the installation happens, we'll go and validate the way we have seen earlier. How do we validate the Java is installed or not? So for that we'll go to window R and we will copy paste this path from here, and this time we will see when we copy paste the path. Let me do window R, paste here. If I hit enter, now I can see this folder exists, and it has two subfolders over here, JDK and JRE. So JDK is Java Development Kit, where we will get the compilers. JRE is the runtime environment. Okay, so the installation has completed. We simply say close and we are done. Now one quick way of validating our JRE is installed, I can again go to window R. Now this window R is something that we'll be using quite often. So cmd enter. So this is my command prompt. Here if I want to check what is the version of Java that I have installed, I can run java space -v, and when we do that command, okay, sorry, it's not v, it should be version. Hit enter. It tells us that we have installed 1.8.0 and 65th update of that 1.8.0 version we have on our machine. Well, so that was about how to install Java. In next part we will start writing our first program. We'll compile that program and we will run. So let's meet again in the next part.